The president is counting that a special counsel will make this story go away, and it might, temporarily. Our guest tonight, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, was one of the first people to call for a special prosecutor. She joins us now, Republican from Colorado. Ma'am, good to see you as always, as we watch the lightning here in D.C. in your office behind you. Pam Bondi was supposed to do the work effectively of a special counsel. She was supposed to go through these documents, tell us what could and could not be released, see if anybody else needed to be prosecuted, and release them. What is a special prosecutor going to do that Pam Bondi did not, has not, or has done incorrectly?
Well, there's certainly some rhetoric that we are hearing about frustrations with the information that was let out. Now, I don't want this to become a false idol for Republicans and something that is going to distract us from the amazing progress that President Trump and his administration has been doing. And so I'm saying let there be a special counsel to actually get the information that Americans want. If that's something that ends up taking place in Congress, fine. But I think the American public is also tired of hearing that Congress is going to have a hearing, have an investigation, have a deposition, and really hold somebody accountable. This is something that we need more information on. But listen, just like President Trump is saying, he's really putting this back on the Democrats. And it's so obvious that this isn't something that he's trying to cover up because he may or may not be listed in this, or if he ever went to
Forgive me. I'm just trying to figure out.
The Democrats would have already released this themselves.
Okay, we all can agree the Democrats have been hypocritical on that. We've pointed that out yesterday when it started. But forgive me, I'm just trying to figure out, and since you've called for a special counsel, what powers would the special counsel have? What would the special counsel do that is different than what Pam Bondi, as the Attorney General, the special counsel's boss, should have, could have, would have, or would do?
Well, Leland, I mean, look, this is the same thing as going forward with a task force. So the Attorney General has set up a Second Amendment task force to go after states with unconstitutional gun laws. She's not handling everything directly herself every minute of the day. And so I think having a special counsel allows someone to actually put their entire time and effort into this. And then we can move on and get back to President Trump's amazing victories.
Okay, so a couple things there. I'm still confused about what the special counsel would do, because Pam Bondi said she's looked through all this stuff and there's nothing to release. So either she did a poor job, she was lying when she said she had the client list, or something else is afoot. But I think you said sort of the point, right? Which is, the point is to move on. The point is to sort of kick the football kick the can down the road here.
I'm not saying move on. I'm saying have someone who's actually dedicated to finding an answer and releasing more information to the public. Whatever is not out there that is not satisfactory to folks. People want information on this. This is a big deal.
Right.
And like you mentioned, President Trump, this wasn't his main thing that he ran on. I would much rather have a secure border than a list from a dead pedophile at this time.
Why do you think people are so angry?
Absolutely not.
I know you've gotten calls from your constituents. We've heard from a lot of MAGA world. Why do you think this issue? You think about MAGA members pushing for more facts. Everybody from Alex Jones, Michael Flynn, Benny Johnson, Tucker Carlson, Laura Loomer, Megyn Kelly, Charlie Kirk, Senator Mike Lee.
Leland, you could go on and on with the names of
let me just ask.
I understand that.
But why do you think they're frustrated?
Because we do value transparency, and this is something that we thought that we could just open up phase one of a binder and get answers, and there hasn't been a phase two. But I do trust President Trump. I trust the process. I trust Dan Bongino. He has always been someone that I can count on and rely on, and I think moving forward with a special counsel allows us to get back to the amazing work that President Trump is doing. His jobs reports are great. The economy is certainly doing much better. With the big, beautiful bill, we have no tax on tips, no tax on overtime.
Okay.
We have a secure southern border, and we are funding our Border Patrol agents and ICE officers. And just as Hakeem Jeffrey said, we now have a mass deportation machine on steroids, thanks to President Trump's big, beautiful bill. So I want a special counsel to focus on this so we can get back to the amazing work President Trump is doing.
I understand
that. Is that the council
right, but no, hold on. But Pam Bondi said there's nothing there. So do you think she?
Maybe that's what the special counsel finds.
Do you have faith in her that she did a good job?
I'm saying that I would like more information to come out from this. Now, look, I'm not trying to be combative here. I think we're saying the same thing. People are frustrated. We want to know if there's more information.
Right.
I don't know exactly what Pam Bondi has seen or what she hasn't seen. I've seen just as much that has been released from her as you have. And so I'm saying maybe someone else needs to take a look at this. But also, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can also celebrate our secure border. We can celebrate that we are putting America first, that we are putting American energy dominance ahead as a priority.
Madam Congresswoman, I appreciate this. You're listing this laundry list of Trump's wins, of which they've been significant.
Shouldn't we be? I mean, Coca-Cola just said that they're changing their ingredients because of the Maha agenda under President Trump.
I hear you.
We've reported all of about his victories.
We've reported all of these. We've reported all of these. I'm still trying to figure out.
You've also talked about the Epstein list, which is fine. We're all talking about many of these same things.
But I'm still trying to figure out. I'm still trying to figure out.
Let's have a special counsel and figure out
what would you like the special?
If
what
anything.
Would you? So why do you think MAGA, if Pam Bondi has done her job and has been completely above board and she's right that there's nothing here. Just hear me out.
I think it's clear that folks are not satisfied.
Right. So why would they be satisfied?
On this one issue that has been done.
Why would they be satisfied with a special counsel who comes back with the very same thing, a special counsel who works for Pam Bondi?
Well, then maybe we need to do is Tim Burchett has asked our chairman of the Oversight Committee and bring in Ghislaine Maxwell and ask her why she's in jail. And maybe there's something there that she has to say. There are more ways to get information, but to put our entire focus, our nation's focus on this one thing and not talk about how President Trump is truly improving the lives of Americans each and every day, that he did not have to come back and do this job again, yet here he is, 80 years old. Why do
you think why do you think the Epstein files went from something that was so benign in the conversation to now a Democratic hoax that Trump wants nothing to do with? How did that arc happen totally within the Republican Party?
Well, I mean, I think that the Democrats are certainly ginning this up. You saw their stunt on the House floor yesterday with their procedural vote.
I'm not asking about Democrats. I'm asking about Republicans. How'd this become such a divisive issue inside Republicans?
I think that it is being ginned up because now the media is talking about it. This is something that's new. Back when we wanted to talk about it, we were conspiracy theorists and, we couldn't ask these questions. But now suddenly Democrats are demanding the release of Epstein files. And like I said, we want transparency. We want answers. And I think that there are more answers to be had. I trust President Trump's timing. There are other ways to go about it. I am not defending the rollout of this in any way, but I do trust President Trump. Are you defending
Pam Bondi?
I said I'm not defending the rollout of this in any way.
Do you have faith in Pam Bondi?
No, there is no defense of this Epstein rollout whatsoever.
I just want to play for you, certainly not Democrats, but among them Theo Von and Joe Rogan, certainly people who are fans of the president's talking about this. Take a listen.
Sure, yes.
I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for.
You just really start to feel very disillusioned pretty quickly. And I don't mean disillusioned in people. I don't mean disillusioned in like the human beings, but this disillusioned in our leaders.
Yeah, they can lie about all kinds of things. And this is today with the internet. Like, look, where's the Epstein files? Boo, can't find them. Don't exist. Like, they can get away with man.
Oh, yeah.
You think they're all wrong?
No, listen, here's the thing. I think you think that I'm arguing with you and saying that you're wrong and questioning this, and I'm not. I said there needs to be a special counsel, and we need more information.
But what I'm still trying to figure out is, and we can agree to disagree, but what a special counsel would do and what powers a special counsel would have that Pam Bondi does not and did not have. But we'll
Would you
move
prefer
on.
I just say Pam Bondi needs to focus all of her attention on this and drop the special counsel?
Well, she said she did. No, I'm just asking you. She said she did. She said she looked into it. She didn't say I don't have enough time. She didn't say I need more power.
You're trying to find a sticking point for us to fight about. I'm
just asking.
Want more information.
Okay.
I'm saying President Trump is doing
what more information do you want?
I'm not defending the Leland. You are talking over me much more than normal, and I don't think that we need to be combative here. I'm not disagreeing or arguing with you. I am saying there was no defense from me on the rollout. I understand that my friends in the MAGA movement and the America First movement are frustrated. And I'm saying there are other ways that we can attempt to get more information. I trust President Trump. There are also amazing victories that are taking place in this administration. He has done more in just over 100 days than we could ever imagine. And we cannot lose sight of these amazing victories. And we can also
that's the fourth time you said that,
more transparency. Yeah, and I'm going to keep saying it. Absolutely. President Trump deserves to have these victories celebrated each and every
we have a rule
day.
here. I understand. I understand that feeling.
We're going to push for more information as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's good to have you as
Thanks
always.
so much, Leland.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.